Hello, welcome to Let's Get Social, our Friday live sew along. And this is our third week that we are sewing with Ankara. Last week we made a peplum top, which I meant to put on here, but I did not put it on here. So I will make sure that I show it to you all before we end and or post pictures, depending on what our timing looks like. We're making a peplum top again this week, but we're doing a little bit of a different sleeve and a little bit of a different collar using Simplicity 3032. And then the week before that, we did some Ankara pants using Nomi 2092, I believe is what we used. So I'm really excited to kind of dive into this week's and working with Ankara to make our garments. And so what you can see on the dress form behind me is the base that we're using. It is the exact same base that we used last week to make our peplum top. And so again, this week we are switching it out. If you remember correctly, we did half length sleeves and no particular collar. So it's just a round neck like what you see here. And so this week we are using Nomi 2016 again. This again is our base. We did the exact same modifications to Nomi 2016 that we did the prior week. So just as a reminder, we moved the zipper from the back to the front. So the zipper is here now. Oh, don't act crazy now. Oh yeah, here's my zipper. Acting a little crazy. So we moved the zipper from the back to the front. And then as a result of doing that, then we also had to swap out the pattern pieces that we decided to cut on the fold. So we cut the back pieces instead of the front on the fold, and we cut two pieces of the front. So the front bodice pieces and the front skirt piece, we cut two of those instead of cutting them on the fold. And then the back bodice and the back skirt piece, we cut that on the fold. And so we did the exact same things. And so again, what we're working on this week, so we've completed that, and now what we're going to be adding to this is what we're going to be sewing today, which is that we are going to be adding our sleeves and a collar from from Simplicity 3032. And I bought the PDF of this, so you'll see that we're going to be adding this sleeve and we're going to be adding this collar piece to this pattern. And so I did a prep video prior to this just to make sure that people knew how to create this ahead of time. So if you're sewing along, make sure you drop it in the chat so that I know that you are sewing along, so I can answer any questions and or wait for you if you are going to be sewing along. And then the other thing is I walk through what you needed to cut out of pattern 3030 Simplicity 3032. And so I'm just going to review those with you, and then we're going to dive right into our sew along. So you needed to cut a couple of different pattern pieces. One is you needed to cut pattern piece number 8. So this is pattern piece number 8. Because I had a PDF, I literally just measured the pattern piece, and I measured it, and I did not cut the actual pattern piece because it was literally a rectangle. So I measured it, and I think it was like 30 each. You have two pieces, you have to cut two, and each one I believe was 36 by, I think it was 36 by 4 across, 36 length. And so I cut two of those instead of cutting that pattern piece. I just measured it and I cut it. You also needed pattern piece number 10, which is the upper sleeve. And then you needed pattern piece number 12, which is the cuff. And you also need pattern piece number 11, which is the lower sleeve. So those were all the pieces that you needed. The other thing that I did ask people to go and do is to cut, because we are using the Nomi pattern as the base, and so this neckline is based off of Nomi, I went back and asked people to cut the front neck interfacing and the back neck interfacing, but cut them out of fabric and interface them. And so I did do that with these pieces because we will be putting those facing pieces in as well. And so I did have people go and cut those, but not sew them on because we're going to be adding our collar piece first. Then we'll be going back in and adding our facing pieces. So those were all the pieces that you needed. This pattern does call for buttons to go on the cuff. We will not be doing the buttons on live, but I'm actually probably not going to do buttons. I think I am going to do snaps instead. And so I have some snaps that would look really good. And I think that I'm going to be doing snaps instead of buttons, but it does call for 4 buttons to go onto each collar. And again, I think I'm going to be doing snaps instead of buttons, but I will not be doing those on live. And so I just wanted to also make you aware of that. And so with that said, we're going to dive right in. So I'm just checking to see if we have any comments. Again, thank you all for joining. Thank you for logging in. And again, let me know if you are going to be sewing along. So we are taking these pattern pieces from view C of 3032. And so that is going to take us right to step, let's see. Okay, sleeve. So it looks like we're going to actually be working on the collar pieces first. So we are going to be, okay, so for the collar for B or C. Let's see. Make sure I'm not skipping anything. Okay, so we're going to start with direction number 8, which tells us to take our 2 collar pieces, which are our 2 long rectangles, right sides together. You are going to stitch them across the short end. And so we're going to be doing that right now. And if you're sewing something, make sure you drop it in the chat. Let me know what you're working on this weekend. I would love to know what you're sewing. I will tell you, my goal is for us to finish this sew along in less than 2 hours. And part of the reason why is because I actually am doing I'm running a race tomorrow, and I want to make sure that I get ample sleep before my race. So we'll see, because while I've made the bodice, I haven't added the collar before, so this will be all very new. So we'll see how it goes. But that is my goal, to be finished in under 2 hours. Fingers crossed. Drop it in the chat if you think we can add the collar and the sleeves, minus the buttons, because we're not going to be doing that tonight, or we're not going to be doing it on live. If I can do that in under 2 hours. So again, we're taking pattern piece number 8, which is our collar, right sides together, and we are stitching both of those pieces together. Okay, so that's our first step. We've stitched both of those pieces together. And then it says with right sides together, we are going to fold the collar so now we've sewn them both together. And then with right sides together, we are going to fold them the length, long ways. We're going to fold it together. And, oh, actually, I'm sorry. Yes, with right sides together, we're going to fold it together. And we are going to stitch. And so you have 2 dots that you should have. You're going to leave the center open, but you're going to stitch from the dot all the way down. So let me just show you. So you should have a dot, and you're going to stitch from the dot all the way down to the end. So down this long piece, and then when you get to the corner, you're going to basically turn and pivot to make one solid closed piece. Now, the one thing you do want to check is, because again, we are putting this on a different top than what we were putting on than 3032, because we're using No Me 2016. You want to make sure that the part that you leave open core is not too short. So the dots, you want to make sure that you go from your center back, so you know how much to leave open. And on the shirt, and let me just bring this closer so you could see. Okay. On the shirt, the collar does not go all the way to the corner, but it goes pretty close. And so I'm just marking this. And I'm putting my center seam on here and then just measuring how much I'm leaving open. And then I'm making a mark. And again, the only reason I'm doing this is because we're using a different bodice to attach this collar to. But for the most part, it's not going to make a huge difference. You just will have less of your collar attached. So if it stops like right here, then your collar piece will stop right here, and then you'll have the ties and you could tie it. But if you like it to come all the way around, then you'll want to make sure that you leave more open. Okay, so now that I've marked that dot, and again, your pattern piece does have a dot on it, so you can just simply go with that if you choose. But because I want to make sure that mine comes, all my collar is attached to my bodice, like very close, a little small piece that is left open. I just wanted to do a manual check to how far I should sew around. So let's see, I'm doing right to there on both sides. Okay, so again, you're folding it in half. It may help to press it to help make sure, and I do have my little iron here. Y'all know I like to use my little iron. So I have my little iron here. It does help it to stay in place. To just do a little press, or you could clip it and sew it, because you do have to turn it, so you don't want to add too much, because you will be turning it to the other side. So it might even be just better to use clips or pen rather than press it, since we will be turning it to the other side. Thank you so much. Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for the heart. I appreciate it. So I'm just going to put a couple of pins in here just to make sure everything stays in line, since the collar piece is so long. So this is really the collar and the tie, because it's attached like a collar around the neck, but then you have these pieces end up making the same tie. And if you see by inspiration, I've posted it on Instagram. If you see the little inspiration that I posted, it's very different in terms of how they do the tie. It looks like they just tie it one time at the neck, and then they let it hang. Hey, Rochelle, how are you? So you cut the same pattern Monday to work on this weekend. Okay. Are you sewing the entire Simplicity 3032 as is, or are you doing any modifications to it? I'm telling you, I'm wearing out No Me 2016. I'm telling you, I literally found one other thing I wanted, like another thing I wanted to make with it. I'm like, every time I've made this pattern so many times. And luckily I bought all the sizes because I've also made all the sizes. Not all the sizes, but you get what I mean. Yeah, when I saw this Vogue, I was like, I gotta have those sleeves. I love the collar. It's working for my inspiration. It's getting me all the way where I want to be. So again, I'm just pinning right sides together. I'm pinning my collar, or really my collar and my tie. I'm pinning it. And then when we're sewing it, we're going to be sewing it at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, basically closing up all the other open edges except for the area between the two dots. So that is all that we're leaving open. And again, for those that may not know, this is this Ankara fabric that I have, you see on the dress form. I got this from Grace's African Zesty Couture fabric. She had some really great color options. So just so that if you don't know, I'm a person that I love neutrals with little splashes of, well, I like neutrals. And I don't mind little splashes of color. So you may see I'm using like things that are like orange, like a burnt orange or mustard with a brown or a navy. But she has some very bright colors too. So if you are a person that likes bright colors, you'll be able to find those on her in her store as well. Okay, so I have pinned it and stuck myself in the process, and now I'm about to sew. Again, I'm leaving the part between the two dots open. And here we go. We're going to sew up these two ends, and we're doing 5/8 of an inch seam allowance is what we're working with here. So I think I mentioned, yeah. So tomorrow, I mean, my goal is to finish early, and part of the motivation for finishing early is because I am doing a 10K race with my son, he's doing a half marathon. So typically I would be doing the half, but because I haven't really trained, I was like, I'm not 20 anymore. I can't just wake up and do I cannot just wake up and do a half marathon anymore. So I had to back down. I'm doing a 10K, which is roughly 6 miles. So I can do that, I believe, with ease. I should not have any problems doing that. I have been now consistently working out for about a week and a half. So I'm still kind of getting myself back into shape. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm on my way. I've been tracking my food. And so tracking your food, if anybody has ever done anything fitness related, like it's really an eye opener, because what really made me start tracking my food is because I thought, oh, I ate this much food. In my mind, I was like, oh, I didn't even really eat that much. And then I put in what I ate, and it was like way more than I ate. I think I ate something like 5,000 calories, some crazy number of calories. And I was like, and the tricky part about it is I was thinking I didn't eat that much. So the fact that I ate that many calories with the mindset of, oh, I didn't really eat that much is crazy. So I've been tracking a little bit on my Fitness Pal, and just giving myself a lot of perspective, conditioning my brain to, okay, what does 2,000 calories really look like? And when you start eating healthier, it's obviously a lot more food. So the challenge I often have is making sure I eat enough when I'm eating healthy. That is my challenge when I start really eating healthy. Now, in the wintertime, I don't have that problem as much because I eat a lot of pasta in the wintertime and beans and stuff because I like warm foods, and I eat a little less salads because I'm not eating as much cold foods in the winter. But I don't know what I'm gonna do with all these clothes that I'm sewing in a size 16, because my goal, if I'm doing it right, then I should be back to wearing a pattern size, cutting a pattern size 12 in a couple months. So I might have to be opening up these seams and adjusting the waist a little bit, which is all right by me. It's a good problem to have. A great problem to have. All right, one side done. And now I'm going to do the other side. Same thing. One of the reasons why I hate using pens is because I always get stuck 1,000,001 times. A million and two times. Just making sure as I'm sewing quick, I don't sew past my little dots that I need to leave open. I also did serge all of this as well. Instead of using my fray spray. All right, I'm right at the end. So I'm going to just do a little back stitch. Okay, and then it tells us we're going to cut right at that notch, or right at the where we had the dot. We're going to cut to, but not through. And there we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Here we go. All right. And then we're going to turn this. And let me just get I think I have a turner in here. So I can turn this. Let me see, what's this? Is this a turner? Nope. It's not a turner. Oh, there we go. I got one. Hey. Just trying to see if I have a longer one. I do not, so we're going to work with this one. This is the one thing I don't like doing, which is turning ties. These shouldn't be too bad because they're bigger, but nonetheless. Where's the opening? Here we go. All right, let's see how difficult this is going to be. Especially since I think you all know, those that were on with me before, I reorganized everything. And so what I try to do now is like pull out everything I think I'm going to need. I did not pull out a loop turner, so I'm working with this one that I got right here, which is, I mean, I thought it was going to be too short, but I feel like it might be okay. And so I'm just trying to catch it onto something so that I can pull it. And then turn it. The part that I don't like the most, because I always struggle with this. All right, I feel like I might be onto something. I think I might have it. Okay. And I'm just turning my tie is what I'm working on right now. Just trying to get this. And I think I've got it. Once I get all of it, there we go. All right, I think I'm. All right. Y'all know it just takes a little bit of time to just manipulate these. But it's coming. It is coming. And if I would have thought about it, I might have did it ahead of time, or at least one side, because it does take a little bit of. But this, it is. All right, I think I might have enough. Okay, there we go. There we go. Look at that. I got it. One tie done, or almost. Almost done. And so I will press that. Now I'm just going to turn this other side. One side down, one side to go. And again, I got it hooked on. So I am just, actually, let me move it to this other side. I feel like that's going to be easier. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So it's going a little quicker than I thought it would. Again, just turning the other side of this tie. If y'all have any tricks for how to do it quicker, let me know. I see people, I see little clips on Instagram of people just doing it so quick. And part of me feels like it's just sped up video because I'm never able to turn anything quickly, like rarely. It always takes me a little bit of time and frustration to turn anything. Okay. All right. I think I'm making some movement. All right. There we go. Some movement. Some movement is happening. Okay, I'm down to this last little piece. Here we go. Once I get it out. Almost out. I think I have it. Okay, got it. There we go. Now I just need to get this piece out. Completely turn it, and then I'm going to add a little bit of heat to it just to flatten out the tie part. And so once we have our ties done, then we're going to actually attach it to the collar of the shirt. But before we do that, we definitely need to press it. And we also need to turn out our seam allowance and just do a basting stitch across the part that's kind of sticking out. You'll see you have that little edge that is sticking out right here on each part where you didn't stitch it down. You're going to do a basting stitch because that raw edge is what you're going to be sewing down to your shirt. So before we do any of that, we are going to press these ties. Just put these needles away. I'm still looking for a sewing table, desk. I'm going to find one soon. I just need to dedicate more time to looking for it. Okay, so here is our collar and tie. It's almost like you could really say this part that we left open is more the collar and the other parts are the tie. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to put a little bit of heat to it, flatten them out, and yeah, then we'll go from there. Then we will attach it to our shirt. So before I do that, let me just I want to get a, I'm going to use this pencil, and I'll probably have something else that I could use, but it would require me to be searching and just to push out these seams a little bit. I'm not going to push the whole pencil in there, but I am going to basically just push it out so that it's easier for me to flatten it. All right, there we go. Okay. And now I'm just going to press this so it's a nice flat tie. I wish I would have made them a little bit wider. I didn't realize they were going to be so small. Otherwise, I would have made them a little bit wider so they wouldn't be so skinny. I like a wider tie. That's just personal preference. But that's definitely something that I would have done or will do if I make it again, which I may. I may end up making this again. Hey, Monica, how are you? Welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for stopping by. I am working on the tie. So we are at, or the collar / tie that we're going to be adding. So I'm just pressing it out. I just turned it and I'm now just pressing it flat. And then we will be attaching it to the shirt. So I'm using my little mini iron to press it out. And it's pressing out pretty good. I love all my Ankara pieces. I mean, I'm definitely going to get a lot of use out of them. For sure. Monica, you work at, hi, Michelle. What are you working on this weekend, Monica? Michelle, what are you all working on? Doing any sewing? Like I said, I have a race tomorrow, and then I'm making, my grandson's going to be a bat. So my hope is to start working on that. I think that'll be a quick sew. We got a pumpkin patch here, so I want to get him upstairs, so take some pictures in the pumpkin patch. I really wanted him to be Batman, but I couldn't find any, infant. I guess he's like a toddler, but I found toddler, but it was too big. They were way too big. So I couldn't find any, and I don't unfortunately have enough time to like modify and make it from scratch because I'm not really good at costume making. So, all right, one side done. Now I'm just working on the other side, pressing it out. Making hats. Michelle making hats. So, Michelle, I am working on, we're doing a peplum top again. So we did, if you remember, or you were on last week, we did a peplum top last week, but we did a kind of a elbow length sleeve and no collar. So the collar looked just like this. So what you see behind me is the top is Know Me 2016. It is the bodice and just the first layer of the skirt, which is what we're using to make our kind of the base of the shirt. And then what we are doing is we're using Simplicity 3032 to add sleeves and different sleeves. So we're adding like a balloon sleeve, and then we're adding this collar with some ties. And so on my, if you look at the thumbnail for this post, you'll see the inspiration for the sew along that we're doing. So the inspiration has a long tie that goes down, and then they have these balloon sleeves. So we're doing a version of that by meshing up these two patterns. So I'm excited about how it's going to look. I already love the fabric, so I feel like I can't go wrong because I just love this fabric. And I tried to pick fabrics that I knew I could pair well with, existing pieces that I already have, dress pants that I have, that will kind of tone it down just a tad, make it work well for like corporate. I do a lot of speaking, public speaking, and so, I want to make sure that it's not like too, busy when I'm on stage speaking. So I feel like this is that perfect mix of, you know, it's giving me the culture that I really want, but it also is just not too much. Now, with these particular tops, I definitely can't wear them with blazers, but I feel like the long sleeve, the elbow length sleeve allows me to be able to still have this very corporate look with it, but without the blazer, because the shirt kind of does everything it needs to do. So I'm very happy about that. So the other thing that we didn't do, and I didn't say this in part of my recap in the beginning, so I'll walk through the steps of what I did with this Nomi. I also did not put the lining in this. So the last week we did the lining, but this week we are not. I recommended no lining with um, this version. Okay, so we have pressed out our tie, and now I'm gonna take this dress form off camera just because TikTok does not like it when you have a dress form that's not dressed. So we're gonna take it off. Here we go. We got it right here. And we are now going to take our tie, our opening of our tie, and we're gonna match up the centers. So it's all right side out. So right side of the bodice, right side of your collar and necktie with your raw edges lined up. You're going to line up the center of that. So I have mine marked with the center of your collar, because now we're going to be sewing. And they do have a basting stitch, so you could also base stitch across. I'm skipping that step because it's a fairly small piece and I already pressed it together. So I'm going to, again, take the center of this. And I'm also going to make sure I open up my seams so it's not too bulky. I should have did that before I pressed it, but I can already feel the difference. Okay, and then I'm going to find, make sure I have the right center. I kind of measured it when it was on my dress form, but I want to make sure I got it right. Oh yeah, I did. Okay. That is the center. It's amazing how I got that right. Okay, so I'm matching up the center to the center of my bodice to the center of my necktie. And I'm going to pin that and pin it all the way around. Well, not all the way, but basically to the end of the raw edge. We're going to pin, pin, pin. Oh, I was like, what is that sticking me? I had pinned this on the dress form, and the dress form is smaller than this, so I had to pin the back of it. The pin was still sticking in it. And I'm opening up my seams. All right. Hey, Jay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know I owe everyone a lot of finished looks. I've just been traveling so much, I haven't been able to like really put everything on. But one of these weekends, I'm going to just basically do nothing but put on my things, take pictures so that you can see the finished looks. Because I might put it on, but then, you know, I'm not picture ready. So I don't take any pictures. I just look at it and like, oh, yeah, that's going to be right. All right, so there's that. Just make sure. I feel like it's a little bit off, but I think it'll be okay. Okay, so now that we have this pinned, we are literally going to stitch all across. Let me just make sure I'm telling you right. Yeah, so it says on the outside, pin the collar to the neck edge, matching the center backs, the large dots and the small dots to the shoulder seams. And then it says clipping the neck edge where necessary, and then we're going to do a basting stitch again all the way around from dot to dot. Basically, that raw edge to raw edge, you are going to be stitching those pieces together. Yep, there we go. All right, here we go. And they say their dots go to the shoulder seam, but I feel like it's more than that. Oh, you know what? That's right, because that's a different pattern. So that's why. But I don't think it's anything wrong if you do just stop at the shoulder seam. I don't think that's a big deal at all. I'm just sipping on my protein shake. So if you wonder what is white in my cup, it's my protein shake. I didn't have a chance to eat it, drink it earlier, and I'm drinking it now. Normally I would be fasting right now, but I'm like, I gotta get my food in. Fasting does no good if you don't get your nutrients in. Okay, here we go. Let me just do this as a basting stitch. And I'm taking my time, making sure I don't have any issues. Making sure my raw edges stay even as I'm sewing it around. Here we go, here we go, here we go. So far, so good. It's looking great. It's coming along. I'm a little nervous about, I've never done like the collar and then you put the facing on top of it. So I'm curious to see how that's all going to come together, but we'll see together. We'll figure it out together, how that's all going to play out. All right, to the last bit. Why is this not moving? And do a little back stitch. Okay, so we have now attached the collar. And I know you can't really tell that much, but that is the collar. And here are the ties. And so the next thing it tells us to do is to add the front and back facings. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take these facing pieces, and it so happens to also be piece number 3 and 4, so they have labeled them the same, coincidentally. And let me just make sure I have all my pieces, and you are going to stitch them together. So here's my back facing piece, and you are going to take that with your front. So I'm just lining them up, making sure I put them together correctly. Okay, so this is the back, and here is the front. So I just want to make sure. Is that right? Or is it? What is the front piece? Is this the front? Is it this piece? Always got to make sure you got it right. All right. Nope. I think this is it. I think that's right. And I'm just going to double check it before I sew them together. I'm just trying to make sure I know which side I should be sewing, because again, we swapped them out. So I want to make sure. I think this is it. Yes. Yep, that's right. All right, so this goes this way, and this is the side that needs to connect. Okay, so once I figure out what is my center, then I gotta connect this side. So this is gonna go right sides together. So here, this will be this to this. And just see. And then this will be this to this. Okay, perfect. So now you're connecting the back facing to the front facing. Let me just show you what that's going to look like. I can put these all together. Okay, here we go. Hi, Mary. Hey, Kay. Okay, so you're going to basically, this is my front facing pieces, these two short pieces. The center is my back facing piece. And you're going to stitch them together, basically connecting one whole piece. So I'm doing that right now. Okay, I want to repost what you sent me. I was out and about when I looked at it, but I loved it, and I want to repost it. It was like, I love this. And I just make sure that's going to be right. And then I'm just going to do one double check, because I do not want to use my seam ripper. So I'm just going to do one little double check before I sew this together. Make sure this is going to fit the way I want it to fit. Okay. It's like what they say, measure. What does they say? Measure once, measure twice, cut once. So that's what I'm doing. I know, Kay, I really liked it. I loved it. I'm going to repost it too. It was like, oh, when I get home, I'm reposting it. But then time got away from me and I didn't get to do that. So I will be reposting it. Okay, so let's see. We are putting this wrong side facing out. So let's see. Stitch the front facing to the back facing um, at the shoulders, which we did. Finish the lower edge of the facing. So they want you to, so I serged the bottom of my facing. So before we actually attach it to the bodice, they do want you to kind of fold or finish. So you could fold it and finish it. I finished mine with the serger. So they tell you to finish that lower facing. And I finished mine as individual pieces, but they tell you kind of attach it first and then finish them all as one. So it probably would have been cleaner if I would have just serged them after I sewed them together, but it's going to be on the inside of the garment. You're not going to really see it. And then let's see what they tell us to do. With right sides together, pin the facing to the neck edge over the collar. So here we go. That is the part that we are going to be doing together. So I need to sew them together first, but I want to make sure that I have the right seam allowance, that it actually is going to fit. So I have not sewed them, I just pinned them, but I'm just kind of pinning it here. So we're walking through that process. So over the collar, I am going to be, and I'm just pinning this just to kind of temporarily hold it again to make sure, but right side's facing. And okay, that looks like that's working perfectly. And again, I'm just testing the fit, but also, oh, now I see. Okay, I totally see how it's going to all fit together. Okay, so I'm going to now pin it, but this is before I'm going to now sew it. I'm sorry. But before I do that, let me just show you what this is going to look like. I'm excited. Okay, so after we sew all of the facing pieces together, the front and back facings together, so you kind of see what you're looking at is the inner facing part. You're going to sew it together. You're going to finish, well, before you sew, yeah, you're going to sew these pieces together, the back and the front facing together. You're going to finish the bottom of it. So I finished mine by serging it. And then you're going to attach it to your bodice, which is what I did here. And you're going to sew all along the top, around the neckline. And then you're going to turn it. So I still need to sew mine together. I just wanted to make sure that I was going to have a great fit, which I do. I'm very happy about that it's going to fit from edge to edge. So I'm just taking it apart or taking it away from unpinning it from my bodice so that I can now stitch along where I believe that it should be attached. So here we go. And make sure that you put your stitch back to where it should be. All right, here we go. All right, that's done. And now I'm doing this. One more side. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It is going to be on the inside. So it does not have to be completely perfect. But the perfecter, the better, if perfecter is a word. Do a quick back stitch. And now I am doing exactly what we said, which is right sides together, over the collar, raw edges even, pinning this. And I'm going to pin it, and then I will show it to you again before I sew it down. And then you also, again, we have our zipper here, so you want to make sure that you open up your zipper because you're also going to be enclosing that zipper part too when you flip that collar to the inside. So you're opening up that zipper out. Open up those seams. You can line them up, but again, if it's off a little bit, mine are not, because I matched it, but it won't, as long as it all fits end to end, you're going to be okay because that collar will be on the inside, or the facing will be on the inside. My only regret, hey Sebs, good to see you or see you here. Thank you for joining. We are working on our peplum top and we are attaching the collar. My thing does not like that. And last pin, I'm going to put this last little pin in here. And again, lining up those raw edges. Okay, so I have it all pinned. Here you go. You're able to see that. All the raw edges. So again, this is our facing, our collar is in the middle, and then our bodice. So right side's facing, I'm getting ready to stitch all along this raw edge from one end to the other. And then, excuse me, and then we're going to turn it to the inside and press it. And then they do want you to do an understitch for the facing. So first things first, we are going to sew this on. And the other thing is that you do want to go on the edges of your facing. You want to go down the side because again, we got to enclose that zipper. So when you are doing that, just make sure you do not go over your zipper teeth. You know, I did that last week. It's not great, but I had to pick it out. All right, and now I am turning this. Taking my time. Making sure I have all my raw edges there. Here we go. And I'm feeling really good about it. Again, just making sure that that fabric, those raw edges stay lined up because you do not want them to slip down like mine is trying to do right now. especially around the curve. All right, there we go. It's going good. So far, so good. Oh, let me make sure I don't miss my opportunity. Okay, there we go. TikTok said, we want to know if you're still here. You're not moving enough. And here we go. Last little bit. I'm all the way to the other side, going over the other shoulder seam. And I'm just, again, making sure my raw edges are all lined up. The last little bit. Just go down this side, and I think I'm gonna be good to go. And do a little back stitch. Oh. All right, so we have now done that, and then the next thing is, well, what I am going to do is I'm going to take my scissors, and even though I feel like the curve is minor, I think I am going to clip into it a little bit. Let me just see. Do I feel like that's going to make, no, I don't think it'll make a difference. I hate cutting anything I serge because I'm always like, it's going to fray, and I didn't do all that work serging just to cut it. So I try to like have very little seam allowance as possible so I don't need to. And this facing is very short. It's really small. It's a small facing. So I could see why they want us to understitch it because it's not a lot. So I'm going to press this first. I'm turning it. I'm going to press it. And that literally finishes the collar, and the tie pieces are finished. Adding that facing just kind of gives that whole thing a nice little finish on the outside. So let me press this, and then I will give you a quick close up. But I'm feeling really good about it. Pressing out that, turning that corner really well. And let me just press that. And then we're gonna move on to our sleeves. So we got like 50 minutes to do the sleeves, and I think we will be able to do that. Because I think I'm probably going to understitch offline. So I can just take my time and do it easily. But I am going to press this because I feel like it will lay and look better pressed. But understitching, I do think is going to be important to get it to also lay like we want it to lay. So this is going to be the true definition of press, which is don't move the iron back and forth, let it stay on there. This is where steam would make this faster, but this little iron doesn't have any steam, and I don't want to pull out my big iron. I mean, it's definitely pressing it down now. Definitely laying it down. Okay. Almost done. Yeah, I definitely will say pressing it is helping it lay. So it's giving a much more like finished look. But once I do that understitching, it's really going to lay well. I can already tell. I can already tell that it is going to lay. Again, all of this is on the inside, so not like a huge, you're not going to see it. All right, last little part. And one more part, and then we will be done. That's good to know. All right, last little piece, and then I'm going to show you what this looks like on both sides. Okay. So here is what, let me just, I'm going to zip in this. Actually, you know what? Let me put it on the dress form just so you can see what it looks like. Really quick. I like a good visual, and that's what I'm going to give you, a good visual of where we are, a little progress. This up. Okay. So here we go. This is now our collar. So remember, we did not have a collar on it first, and here are our ties. So you might be seeing the facing sticking up a little bit, but here are ties. So that's what, if you could see that, probably would be good to use a different color, but I love the, I don't know if monochromatic is the same, is the right word, but here is the collar, here are the ties, same thing, collar and collar up here, and then here are the ties. Boom. Okay, so we're gonna put this right here to the side because we've done that piece, and the skinny ties don't look too bad. I'm not, they're not awful. So, all right, next thing we're going to work on are our sleeves. So the first thing that we're going to do is it tells us to put a couple of basting stitches in the top of the sleeve. You have a couple of dots that are roughly where my fingers are at the top, and you're basically going to do 2 rows of basting stitches, and that's going to just help us to ease the sleeve into the armholes that we have here. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm actually only going to do 1 row of basting stitch because I don't think I need a second row. And again, the goal is to make so that you can create a little bit of gather if you need to ensure that the sleeve will fit into the armhole. So you want to make sure that you do this basting stitch within your seam allowance. I do that because I don't like to remove them. They will come out on their own when I wash it after the first time that I wear it. All right, and again, I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail and cut that. So again, I'm only doing 1 row. I don't think I need a second one. And then I'm doing the same thing, just pulling these strings out just a little bit. And then from dot to dot in my seam allowance, doing a bit of a basting stitch. And leave a little bit of a tail. Okay, so we've done that. And okay. So then the next thing that we're going to do is right sides facing. We are going to sew together this, what do they call this? Side seam, underarm seam. That's what they call this piece. So we're going to sew that together. 5/8 of an inch seam allowance is what we're working with. We're making good time. Okay, 1 done, and then same thing on this one, right sides together. Raw edges even. And then we're going to stitch together 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. That is what we're going to do. Okay, so we have done that. And then we're going to put these to the side, and we are going to get our pattern piece number 11 out. So our pattern piece number 11 is our main part of our sleeve, or the undersleeve as they call it. So we're going to move these to the side. So you have 2 of those, and we are going to sew them. We're going to take each piece, we're going to fold them right sides together, and you're going to sew them to, there is a dot at the bottom, and you're going to sew them just to the dot because you do need to attach them to the cuff. So let me just make sure that I can find my chalk, which I'm sure I cannot. So here is my piece right here, my piece number 11. And let's see, where is my dot? Okay. I have to look at where it was supposed to be. All right, let's see. It's supposed to be right here. Same thing on the other side. I'm just all right. One down, one more to go. So then we're going to sew, basically, we're going to basically fold each one in half and then sew down, fold each one in half, right sides together, then sew down at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance and stop at the dot. All right, so we have done that. I'm just going to move this down. And now I am going to match these up, make sure they match. And they do. And then I'm going to sew them. Just going to put a couple of pins in, making sure one that I stop where I'm supposed to stop. All right, what's one sleeve? And here we go with the other. Here we go, here we go, here we go. And where's my, see, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, here we go. I was like, where is my, and let me see. All right, so before I sew these, let me just tell you what we're going to be doing. So we're going to sew again down the sides to the dot. So I've folded them in half, each sleeve, right sides facing, and then we're going to sew down this side all the way to our dot, which is here. So this little part will be open, and then it tells us to, we're going to actually, is it making this clip? No. We're actually going to fold this back. So after you fold it to the dot, does it want us to cut to the dot? Let me see. Okay, we're going to sew down to the dot, back stitch, which we always do. Press under 5/8 of an inch. A hem, we're basically creating a slit opening right here. So we're going to fold back 5/8 of an inch. So we're basically going to fold the rest of that 5/8 of an inch back. And we are going to stitch, squaring the stitching above the opening, so across the top. So that is what we're going to do with that opening part. So here we go. Again, 5/8 of an inch seam allowance is what we're working with. I like this, creating this little slit opening. I didn't realize we were going to be doing that, but I'm happy because I think I'm going to really like it. And I guess it goes with most shirts that have a cuff on them. They do tend to have that little slit opening. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sold on doing snaps instead of buttons. I'm pretty sold on it. I don't think I'm going back on it. I think, And I've recently started using my snaps, and I've gotten really good at it. So I'm just like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Okay, so I've sewn down to the dot. Now I'm going to fold back, or basically press open. Don't you do it. And I'm going to use my little iron and press this open. I'm pressing open my little slit that I am going to be sewing back in a minute. Do the same thing on the other side. Basically pressing open that 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Just making sure these little tails, I usually cut them off, and for whatever reason I did not, and they're getting in my way. I know a lot of people say don't cut them off, but I always do. I haven't had anything unravel on me yet, so. You know what, this is what I'm gonna do. Open this up this way, just press the whole seam open, as opposed to just trying to do that little part. I think it'll be faster. Yep. I was just trying to press open my slit, and I'm like, you know what? Just press the whole seam open. It's faster. All right, one side. All right, and now I'm going to do exactly what it said, which is stitch down that seam, squaring it off at the top. Here we go. Squaring it off at the top, going straight across the slit. Oh yeah, this is going to be looking so good. And now going down the other side. Back stitch. And there we go. We are done. And that looks so good. You're not going to be able to see it, but it does look really good. I might have to do this on more of my shirts. Although I don't sew a lot of shirts with cuffs, I like this little slit action. You could see, hold on, let me show you. Oh, what is that? Oh, that's mine. There we go. All right, let me just show you that. If you could see that little slit, that's what it's gonna be. Let me just show you the slit. If you could see that. So one down, and now we're gonna do the other slit, other sleeve rather. So I'm starting at the top, just sewing down, 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And go back stitch. And then I'm going to press down, open it up and press down my seam allowance. Where are we at? Oh, 1:30, 1 hour, 30 minutes. Is where we're at. I still feel like I can be done under 2. We got 20 minutes, which is plenty of time to attach these sleeves. Okay. All right, pressed it down, and now I am sewing down my slits. I do not want these pins to drop on the floor. All right, one went on the floor. There we go. All right, here we go. All right, square it off. And boom. Okay, slits are done. And now the next step is that we're going to put these to the side. Oh, no, we're not. We are going to put gathering stitches at, is it at the top and the bottom? Let's see. Gather lower sleeve along upper edge and lower edge between small dots. Lower sleeve, upper edge, and lower edge between small dots. So it looks like they want us to do, let me see. Oh, upper edge and lower. So basically both. So they want us to put a gathering stitch in this top part and down the bottom part between from one open slit to the other. So we are going to do a gathering or basting stitch in along the top and the bottom. So first things first, we need to pull out the tail. I wish we would have did that before we sewed it together. It would have been so much easier. Just put this over here. All right. Ooh, nope, that's not right. Adjusting it. Pull another tail. Always got to make sure, for myself anyway, that I don't forget to adjust the seam lines. Right. And the other thing I do sometimes too is I'm not a fan of gatherings. I mean, doing basting stitches for gathering. Sometimes I just pleat it in place. That might be like the lazy way, but I do that sometimes. So now I am doing another gathering stitch at the bottom. The bottom from basically from the slit, one slit to the other. And I'm doing it in the seam allowance. Hey Chris, hi Aisha. Welcome. Thank y'all for hopping on. We have added the collar and the ties. And now we are working on the sleeves. We are putting a basting stitch to put a gather before we attach the cuff and the upper sleeve to the main sleeve. Now, I probably for this bottom should have done separate sections because it's pretty wide, but I didn't. I didn't think about it till afterwards that I probably should have made a couple of sections of basting stitches to make it easier to move the gathering all around. But what I am going to do for this bottom is I am going to create 2 rows instead of 1, just to make it easier. So I'm just pulling my tails so I have something to pull on. And now I'm going to create 1 more row of basting stitches. So I did 2 rows at the bottom. Yeah, 2 rows at the bottom, 1 row of a basting stitch at the top. Why does this not feel like a basting stitch? Oh yeah, it is. Oh, you know what? It's not. That is terrible. Good thing I did all these in the seam allowance, because that would have been awful. All right, so maybe 2.5 hours. Finish. Since I realized that I did not. Okay, so here we go. I gotta do this beginning part again. I'm gonna pick that apart. All right, so I think we are good with this bottom, and now I'm just going to do this top part. So I realized I did not adjust my, thought I adjusted it, but I did not adjust. This is why I'm not a huge fan of the gather stitch, but it's okay, we got this. We got this. And it also gave me an opportunity to create 2 sections of gathers and not just one. Here we go. All right. This one gonna be a little bit interesting, but we will make it work. Hey, Miss Grown and Opinionated. Yes, I have a little bit of a new setup. So, well, I guess it's been like this for, maybe it's been 3 or 4 weeks now that I have moved all of those. So I don't know if I even shared or showed pictures. I know I talked about it, but this whole space was filled with just bins of fabric, and I replaced them with these cabinets, and but part of the process was using the fabric. So I was using my stash, and I went through a lot of it actually. So I'm proud of myself for that. Now I just have to make sure that I don't buy too much fabric. So like all the fabric that I bought from Grace to do these I'm like sewing it all every week. That's why we're doing 4 weeks of nothing but Ankara. So I don't have a whole lot, because guess what? I don't have anywhere for it to go because all my cabinets are full of fabric. Just full. So but I do like it. So now I just have to get a table that is big enough to, like, for me to, although I don't actually mind cutting on the floor. I'm a person, I don't mind sitting on the floor. I mean, if it's, you know, not outside or anything, but in my house, I mean, I sit in my chair a lot, but I don't have a problem with cutting on the floor. I actually prefer it. But the main reason I want a table is because I realize now that I do like to stand and sew. Sitting is just not my, I don't know, it's just not, I sit a lot. So I'm just like, okay. So I do want to get a table that I can stand and sew. That will be my goal. So I just need to take time. I started looking and then I didn't finish. So I need to take time and just look through and see, like, what do I want. All right, I think we got our bottom done, and we're just going to do one row at the top. There we go. I must have left all the tails on this, which I rarely do, but in this case, I do. Okay, one row of a basting stitch here. In the seam allowance. And we are done with this step. Okay. So, somebody asked me a question. Okay. I know it is definitely hard to not buy fabric, but you know what? I don't want this room cluttered like it was before. It's like literally I could see the whole floor. I have not a bin in this space, and it was stacked. I had them like stacked to my height. So I've gotten rid of all of them. I got 3 cabinets this size, and they're full from top. Every drawer. I have my sewing machines in there too, but absent that, the rest of them are full with just fabric. So I don't want to do that again. So I'm like, I cannot be just overindulging in fabric. I cannot do it. And on top of that, I have no more room in my closet for any clothes. So the other thing I've kind of said that I want to do is I'm going to probably start, I'm not sewing for other people, but I'm going to really be like, if I sew something and I don't want it, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm making this. It's not like something that because I have no room. I'm going to be sewing for someone else. So that will be the other thing that I may start doing. The other thing I thought about too is if I sew something, I get rid of something. So that's another thing I tossed around. All right, so we have these pieces done. We're going to put those to the side, and we're getting to our final piece, which are our cuffs. Again, I mentioned this before that We're not going to be putting buttons on live, but I'm going to be actually doing snaps on mine. So I just wanted you all to be aware that I'm going to do that. So the first thing that we are going to do is it tells us to turn in 5/8 on the notched edge of the uninterfaced cuff. So the notched edge is the bottom, which is the, I guess, wider, I'm sorry, the top. This would be the top. So it's going to be the wider edge. So you're going to take the uninterfaced one piece and you're going to turn it in 5/8 of an inch and you're going to press it down. And then it tells you to trim it. I'm not going to trim it because, as I mentioned before, I'm not trimming it because it will fray, and I've already serged it. But I am going to turn it under 5/8. So what it tells you to turn it under 5/8 and then cut it back to 3/8. I'm turning it under 5/8. So that's what I'm doing now. And you're doing that on your uninterfaced pieces. So you should have 4 of these piece number 12s, 4 cuffs, and you will have interfaced 2 of them, and 2 of them will not be interfaced. Okay. So it's kind of like you're finishing. And here we're doing the same thing with this one. Just turning it under. So once we do that, then it says that we are going to pin the interface cuff to the cuff facing, which is the piece that we just turned under, and right sides facing. Then we're going to stitch around the unnotched edges. So that piece that we're going to stitch all the edges except for the piece that we just folded down. Okay. So now I'm taking the piece that I just folded down, and I'm taking one of my interfaced pieces and I'm putting them right sides together. And let me see, where am I lining them up? I must be lining them up this way. Okay. So right sides facing. And where is my, here are my needles. Just want to pin these. And so 3 sides you are going to be pinning down. And stitching. Just pinning this. I can't wait to finish my grandson's Halloween costume. mostly because I can't wait to see him in it, I think, more than anything else. And I'm excited to just take pictures with him in it. Okay, so here we go. What you see here is it's pinned down, right sides facing. So I have the interface piece, cuff piece, right sides to right side. And then I'm going to be literally stitching up, across, and down. And then this is the notched edge, but also the edge that we just folded up. We're not going to be stitching that edge. So now I'm doing the same thing with this one. Right sides facing, lining up all the raw edges, and then we're going to stitch around those three sides. And then it says, let's see. Then they say understitch that lower edge. So we're understitching the lower edge of the cuff facing as far as we can, because you're not going to be able to go all the way around. I forgot to serge one edge of this. That's interesting. I don't know what happened there. Is it on both? Oh no, it's just for this one. Okay. All right. So first things first, before we get to that part, I am going to sew around. Yep. So 5/8 of an inch seam allowance is what we're working with here. And I'm sewing all the way around. Oh my goodness. All right, I ran out of bobbin thread. So how much do I have to redo? And I forgot to change that back. Okay, so I'm redoing all of this. All right, so I'm redoing my bobbin thread. It shouldn't take that long. Let's see. Aisha, you still on? Ooh, let me see. I got a message. Let's see. 8 new messages. Let's see. Thank you all for joining and hanging in there. Hey, Joshi. Hi, Letitia. Mariana, Monica, Mary, Aura. Ooh. Okay, let's see. What are we doing? Okay, we are at our 2-hour mark. So I thought we would be done, but we are close. We're on to the sleeves. Oop. And then of course we ran out of bottom thread, which is never a great look. But it's okay. Oh my goodness, where is the hole? Okay, there we go. I might be using my last little bit of thread to do this bobbin. So while we're waiting for this bobbin to, once we do this step of understitching, then we are going to be turning our cuff right side out, and then we're going to be attaching it, our cuff to our sleeve, and then our top sleeve to our top cuff, and then attaching it to our bodice, and that's going to be it. Oh, look at that. What a waste. That's what happens when you're not watching. Okay, there we go. Isn't that something? All right. I just wasted a ton of thread, but it's okay. It is okay. Okay. Let's put this in here. And there we go. Needle is threaded, bobbin is good to go. And now I think we can get back to sewing, back to the business of sewing. There we go. And let's do this again. All right. Go. Too far. It's not far enough. All right, there we go. little bit further. All right, there we go. Oh, look at that. I didn't even realize that. All right. One cuff done. And now we're going to do this other cuff. Or it's not done, but it's both sides are attached. And now we got one more. Okay, wait a minute. Here we go. Again, we're making sure that we leave the notched edge open, because that's how we're going to turn our cuff from one side to the, from right sides out, facing out. This will be too short. That's okay. All right, last little part. And back stitch. Okay, so they want us to do a little bit of understitching as much as you can. It is, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot. So I am going to, I'm understitching my seam allowance onto the interfaced. So I'm just going to try to do it in the middle, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that much. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm not going to do that. Let's just see. I mean, understitching will make it look so much better, but let me just see how it looks if I press. So after you understitch, it does tell you to kind of press. So I'm just going to see if I'm able to get away with potentially not understitching it. All right, let me see. Let me see what time is it. Okay, we got 20 minutes. 20 minutes to construct and attach. And I think we can. I think we can do it. I believe in us. I believe in me. All right. Nothing like a good press. And of course, steam would always be better right now, but we are foregoing the steam. Because this little iron does definitely do the job. Takes a little longer, but it does do the job. It does give you a nice little press. Okay. And that looks really good. Okay. One down. Let me just turn this. And then I'm going to press this as well. And then once we do that, then we are going to be attaching. We're going to be attaching our cuff to the lower sleeve or the bottom of the lower sleeve. And actually, before we attach the cuff to the bottom of the lower sleeve, we're actually going to attach the top of the lower sleeve to the upper sleeve. So we're going to do that first. So let me press this. We're getting close. Once we get that top part attached, we're like almost there. All right, let's press, press, press. So Rochelle of Handmade, let me see, what's Rochelle's handle? Handmade Designs. She is also going to be doing, she said she cut out Simplicity 3032, which is what we pulled the sleeves and the collar from. So stay tuned for her because she will be making this as well. And then Aisha from Laurier Designs, this Sunday will be doing her, she has a new pattern out. And she's going to be sewing that. It is a peplum belt, which has many uses of. If you follow her, you know that you could literally wear it in so many ways. So they're going to be sewing that this Sunday. So look out for that. I actually bought the pattern, and I might be sewing along on Sunday. I'm still trying to work it out. But definitely check that out on Sunday service. Oh yeah, this is looking really good. Let me just. All right, just give it a little bit more of a press with some more intention. I think it'll be good to go. All right, so you will notice that I just want to point this out because we did fold down one end, you're going to have that little bit of an extra exposed end on one part of your cuff. So we're going to put these to the side really quick and we are going to attach our sleeve, our lower sleeve to our upper sleeves, which are here. So this is our upper sleeve. We have it wrong side facing out. We want to make sure that our cuffs are wrong side facing out as well. And you're going to take the smaller end of it. Is this the wrong side? Nope, this is the right side. So I'm turning this to the wrong side. Thank you, Miss Tata, for all the likes. I always appreciate that you hop on and watch. Thank you so much. Okay, so here you go. This is the top of your lower sleeve. And remember, we created our gathering stitch here. So what I like to do is, and I'm just going to press open the seam allowance. Okay. Here we go. So you're going to take I like to line up my seam allowance, and you will have, like I said earlier, you'll have like notches, but I also like to just fold it in half. So you know at the bottom, you know that's the middle center of the bottom. I like to just make a little mark so I know that's the center. Same thing on here. That's the center. I just mark it, and this is the center. So it'll help. Okay. Now that I got my centers, you're literally going to do, what did they do? They did right sides facing. Okay, so yeah, you're doing right sides facing. Let me figure out how I'm putting this on here so I can show you. Okay, this is the sleeve. Okay, here we go. So with right sides facing, so you're taking your sleeve and your upper sleeve and your lower sleeve, and you're going to match the right sides to each other. And so I'm just going to do a little pin right at the in the seam allowance, and then at the top, and then I am going to pull my gathering stitch till it all fits. It's a little tricky. Oh, wrong way. It's a little tricky because it's, you know, circular, but you will be able to do it. You will be able to do it. Okay, here we go. Let me see. Maybe that's not right. It wasn't right. I had it right the first time. Let me just make sure. Okay, this is going in the arm. Okay, yep. Yes. All right, where I put that little center mark, I'm putting a pin there. And then I'm putting a pin. Okay, great. And then I'm putting a pin in the center. And again, you're putting right sides together. Here we go. Okay, and then I'm going to start pulling my gathering stitch. Again, I'm going to pull it until I make it the circles match up. And it's easier when you do it like side to side, because then you know, like, okay, this side matches up, and then you work on the other side. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm just gathering, I'm pulling my string, my tail, my thread tail, and pinning. All right, one side half done. And now I'm going to literally do the same thing on the other side. Again, making sure that they're right sides facing. All right, there we go. This is an interesting way to construct this, but I mean, I feel like it's going to be a little tricky to sew, but doable, if that makes sense. And all right, that is all pinned. So it's all right sides facing and it's pinned. So now I'm going to just do the same thing on the other side. Again, I'm working with the smaller edge. And where's my other sleeve? Here we go. And then I'm going to turn this wrong side out. I'm going to mark sure I'm going to mark this. This is just my center, and I'm going to mark it on this one as well because I'm going to line those up. And I'm going to do it on this side too. Okay, and I'm doing the same thing. And this one's going to be a little trickier because I have all these threads, but again, doable. All right, there's that. No, is this right? Wrong way. This is okay. Here we go. Just visually putting this together is like a little tricky for me, but I'm figuring it out. I have to think about that the curved part is going to be attaching to the bodice, and then that helps me figure out how should I be putting this together. All right, and this is going here. So again, I'm just pinning the centers to the centers, and then I'm going to start my gathering. Is that it? Yes. Okay, we got 7 minutes. Can we do it in 7 minutes? Probably not. But we'll come close. It won't be much longer than that. Let's see. Ooh, I gotta plug my thing in. All right, so now I'm going to do is literally the same thing, which is to pull my gathering stitch and then pin. Let's see. This is my, I think this is my gathering stitch. Here we go. All right, so I'm gathering, and now I'm about to start pinning. Making sure again that it's all right sides together. Thank y'all for hanging in there. We are making good progress. I definitely thought I would be, with all the prep, I thought, oh, we'll finish. But we are really close. I thought 2 hours, definitely no more than 2.5. And we're almost at 2.5. Thank you, Miss Tata. Okay, here we go. Now let us all right. Doing the last little bit of pinning, and then we are going to be sewing these upper to the lower sleeves. All right, got the upper to the lower sleeve on each arm done, and now we are going to sew them together. So this actually is not going to be too bad. I thought it would be a little bit more difficult, but it's not. Okay, here we go. 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. That's what we're working with. Here we go. Ooh. Okay, good. This is right. Yes, it is. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit tricky to sew without making sure that it doesn't get all bunched up, because that's just what happened. All right, so let's see how we can work this. So this is going to be a little, I thought it was going to be tricky, and it is going to be tricky. All right, let's see. Just got to take your time with it. So I'm sewing this in little sections and doing back stitches and just, there probably is an easier way, but ow, I haven't figured it out. So this is the way we're doing it. Ouch, goodness gracious. These needles are sticking me. All right, here we go. Okay, maybe I got something. Maybe I got something going on right now. Okay. All right, got half of the sleeve, or maybe all of. Okay, I got one little part left to sew. And again, the tricky part is how they have you put this together, but I'm getting there, I'm figuring it out. All right, the last little section to connect this. And I think we're gonna be good to go. All right. I think we have, now the question will be, okay, that's those seams line up. I'm gonna turn this right side out just so we can. All right, it's gonna fit. It's going to fit. Let me just turn it right side out. Here we go. This is part of the sleeve. And let me just, and that did line up, despite all those challenges, it lined up pretty good. Let me just plug this in. plugging in. There we go. Okay. One sleeve done, one to go. Oh, that's not good. All right, one sleeve done, one to go. The big reveal is less than 20 minutes away. All right, so let's work on this again. We're going to do the same approach we did before with attaching the upper sleeve to the lower. Might have to do it again in sections. I feel like that worked a little bit. So we're going to do this. Take this to the end. Last little part. And then we're going to flip it to the other side. Do a back stitch. Alright, and now let's try it on this side. Okay, this is going much easier than the first one. We are just about done. Okay, and I feel like, let me just, okay, that looks good. Okay, fits on here. Just all that matters. Okay, so just checking to make sure it fits, and it does. So then so here's our sleeves. And the only thing we have to do is attach our cuffs. So to attach our cuffs, we are going to, what is it telling us to do? It is telling us to pin the cup to the lower sleeve, matching the notches and the small dots. Adjust the gathers, base stitch, keeping pressed edge free. Okay. Oh, okay, I got it. And this is trim seam allowance. And so, are they wanting us to do some slip stitching? They working us. Okay. So here we are, right sides out. Right sides out. We're going to do the same kind of thing that we did, but this one is going to be a little bit easier because of the way they have us doing it. So I'm going to do the same thing. Make my little mark. Oh, I love how that came together. So I know where my center is of my sleeve. And I'm making my little mark here. Folding my cuff in half. Also, and making my little mark right on the edge, because that's what I'm going to line up. So where is my little mark? This is the problem with chalk. Oh, here we go. You don't make it big enough. So you are only sewing the raw edge. You're not sewing, which you won't be, because again, you're going to stay at 5/8 of an inch. So you won't sew your finished edge, or that edge that you folded under. So I'm just going to pin this here. And then I'm going to start pulling my gathering stitches. So this is the one where it's going to be a little tricky, because I have all these. Which ones am I pulling? This is the one where I didn't have it adjusted, so I got all these strings in here. Let's try from this side. All right, I think this is it. So I'm just looking for the right tail. And if I ever think about it, which I never do, to use a different thread, because it definitely does make it easier. I am going to find a gathering foot for this, my new machine too, because I'm definitely over doing the gathering stitch. I mean, this basting stitch method. I've gotten spoiled. Okay, so that wasn't so bad. See, for 1/2 done. Let me just pin. And I love this. Oh my goodness. So what I'm trying to determine now is, am I going to use gold snaps? Am I going to use like a brass snap? Am I going to use black? I'm probably not going to use black, but I got to figure out which color snap I'm going to put on. So it calls for 4 buttons, and I think I'm going to use 4 snaps. Just because, especially if I use gold, I'm going to definitely use 4, just for the look of it, because I feel like it's going to give it a look. Okay, is that not the right string? I think it is. Okay, it is. All right, I'm just doing my gathering on the other side of my sleeve. feel like the other sleeve will be a little bit easier because it won't have all these extra rows of thread, because I didn't make the same mistake. All right, and then okay, I gotta pull a little bit more, a little more gathers. All right, I feel like that should be it, right? Yep, there we go. And just pin this. So what is it saying? To finish it, it says, how do they want you to finish the sleeve? They want you to stitch in the ditch. They are wrong for that. I'm going to do it though because this fabric is Ankara, and guess what? It can hide it. Okay, so I have my cuff attached. I'm just going to attach the other one because then I can just sew. And we love that. All right, same first steps, which is to mark those centers. Make sure I mark it good so I can find it. Same thing here. Mark the center so I can find it. All right, there we go. And get this right side facing out. Find my center. That's what I hate. I can't find it. And I just made it. Okay, here we go. Made on this side. And I'm just going to pin that center, and then I'm going to pull my basting threads. All right, that was easy. Or let me not speak too soon. I gotta still move it. Okay. And now I'm pinning. This one was definitely much easier because it didn't have all those rows. All right, one more side. Okay, where's my other string? Other thread. Where are you? All right, there we go. Look at that. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is, I think I got it all. Yep. So I'm pinning this last part, and then we're going to sew this cuff on. I don't think I'm doing stitch in the ditch on live. I think I have enough that once we put these sleeves in our armholes on our bodice, that we will be able to try them on. Can you believe that we are at almost at 3 hours? Can you believe that? Okay, here we go. So cuff is attached, right sides together. We are getting ready to sew the cuffs on both of our sleeves, and then we're going to be attaching them to the armholes, which is our very last step. So again, 5/8 of an inch seam allowance is what we are doing for our seam allowance. You do want to make sure that those edges are lined up, and you also want to make sure that you don't sew over your folded part edge. You do not want to sew over that folded part, because you need, that is going to be how you kind of finish your seam. Finish your cuff. So close to it, but not sew over it. All these little threads all over the place. Okay. Am I good? Okay, here we go. You also want to take your time and make sure that those raw edges stay lined up, those gathered raw edges. Because otherwise you're going to have little holes. Between your cuff and your sleeve. Oh, I'm feeling so good about it. Ooh. Hopefully that was not a needle, a pen. Okay, that was just thickness. And let me see, let me make sure. Ooh. I think I've sewed over a pin. It did not break my needle, thank goodness. And I think we are. I think we're good to go. Look at that. Sleeve is on. Sleeve is on. Oh, I get it. They want us to fold that under. So that inside seam, you're going to fold under and then stitch in the ditch, sew down so you cover that raw edge. I see exactly what it's supposed to. So I'm definitely not going to do that one live. I could do that after the fact because it doesn't need to be done in order to show you what this will look like on. So here is our sleeve without the buttons on it, without the snaps or button. I'm going to use snaps, but I really like it. I love the little um, the opening below the cuff. I love that. This is a nice sleeve. I might actually do this on other shirts because I really like it. It's a nice sleeve. Okay, one more cuff to put on before we attach to the shirt. All right, let me go this way. Make sure you do not accidentally stitch over. All right, just making sure I am getting all of the gathered parts. Look at that, look at that. It is coming together. All right, there we go. 2 cuffs on, 2 sleeves done. All right, let me move this off screen. I'm going to take this there we go. All right, here we go. So we got our dress, our finished bodice with our collar and our tie. You know, again, still got to do a couple little finishing touches, but all that will be done off camera because we are getting to the point where, guess what? We can still try it on. You can get a feel for the look. And so the next thing that we have to do is I'm going to turn this wrong side facing out. So here we go, wrong side facing out. I'm going to bring my ties out as well so they don't accidentally get sewn in. And then I'm taking my sleeve. And let me just cut some of these strings real quick. Well, actually, no. I'll cut them after I put them in. So I'm putting my sleeve in. Matching up. Let's see. Let me just make sure. Yes. Okay. And I'm about to matching up my centers. And again, remember we have gathering here too if we need it to ensure that our sleeve fits in the armhole. So I just pin my centers and then I will use my gathering thread if I need to. A lot of times I'm able to make it work. Are you excited as I am? We are almost done. Yeah, this is actually really, really, I think maybe a little bit I might need to. Just a teeny tiny bit. But not that much. Again, it's like really almost 100% without having to even use the gather. Again, as soon as things slow down for me a little bit, I am going to take some pictures in me wearing all of these Ankara garments because I love them all and I know I will be wearing them a lot. More than just on occasion. Because I've definitely picked colors of things that I can match it with some these tops with things I already have. The pants, easy to match with white or black tops, which I have a ton of because it's my favorite. But you know what I realized? That's why this didn't. Okay. So I think we are good to go here. This is all pinned. And we're going to do the other sleeve. So all we got to do is sew. And we will be done. So again, we're putting them right sides together. So the easiest way I like to do it is turn the shirt wrong side facing out. Have the sleeve right side facing out. And did I mark the center? I think I did. I marked the center of the sleeve. I did not mark this one. And then I'm going to put it right inside the shirt. Right sides. Then match that center with the shoulder seam, the top of the sleeve center. And then we'll match the bottom seam with the underarm seam of the bodice. Match those up. And then it pretty much matches. I really don't have to use that gathering stitch, maybe like a very small amount, a small little pull, but it matches really well. So I'm just pinning. You see that matched, but no pulling of that gathering stitch to see if the other side does the same. getting anxious to try this on. I can't even begin to think about how I'm going to have to eventually, I think, modify this when I drop a couple pounds. So, all right, here we go. Sleeves are pinned in. And now we are going to be doing the final thing that we're doing on live, which is to sew these sleeves in. If I had like a fake plaid, I would be playing it right now. Like, yay! Last little bit. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Why is this not? Is it? Oh, okay. What's going on? Okay. It's going in very well. So far, so good. Halfway through the first sleeve. All right, last little bit, and I think we're almost there. All right, little back stitch. And we got one sleeve in. Okay, let's quickly do this second sleeve. Where are we at? Ooh, 310. Goodness gracious. Okay, let's quickly do this second sleeve. And then we're going to try this thing on. Definitely got to work your way, get these sleeves in, meaning that you don't want anything to be bunched up, so you just got to take your time. It's going. Last little bit. Last little bit. Okay, sleeves are in. Look at this. This is so nice. So nice. I love it. Okay, let me show you, and then I'm trying this on. I'll go put it on. But here we go. This is we have our collar. Oh, tucking in the wrong thing. It's a very thin collar, thin straps, button down the front, and here are our sleeves. We do have pockets because, again, Nomi has those pockets, which I love. I love the fabric. So I'm going to go try this on, and I will be right back. Right back. here we go. We have a finished look. So let me just bring you a little bit closer so you can see. And I'll stand back here so you can all see. Okay, so here we are. This is, let me just point it down a little bit so you can see as I'm standing back here. Okay, so here we are. I absolutely love it. This is, and I'm just going to clip off some of these while we talk about it. So all my little strings that I will cut off really well later, but they're just all over the place. So the fit is great. And let me just talk about all the little features. Do a quick little recap. I'm gonna cut these little strings off because there's so many. Okay, so here we are. This is the finished look without the buttons, or this. You can have buttons or snaps. I think I'm gonna do snaps and have them instead of folding over, because the sleeves are so. I'm gonna have them just kind of be right sides facing. So it's gonna be like this with especially with the little slit right here. It's just like so nice, I think, to do it that way. But when I tell you I love these sleeves, I love these sleeves. Okay, so let's talk about what we did. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Lala. Thank you so much. Thank you, RV Beads. Thank you, Monica. Thank you. Like, so this is really, I love it. I love it so much. So this is the bodice and the first layer of Nomi 2016. These are the sleeves of UC of Simplicity 2032. And so what it is like a, I would say like a balloon sleeve, but it's a little bit fitted at the top of the sleeve. And then you have this, what I like to call a dramatic cuff. The cuff calls for buttons. I'm actually going to do snaps, and I'm going to do, instead of an overlap, I'm going to do right sides facing each other so that it kind of just gives this a little bit more of a dramatic look. And when I tell you I love these sleeves, I'm going to actually probably put these sleeves, just like how I like this bodice and this skirt to make this peplum. I'm actually going to put these sleeves probably on something else because I really like it. Again, these sleeves are View C of View C of Simplicity 3032. But the fit is just great. And so I still think, oh, and I forgot to talk about this. So in addition to the sleeves, we did go ahead and add this collar. So it's a very thin collar with a tie. I just did a simple little tie. Now, in the picture, they have a bow tie. That's not my vibe. I like just to have the little. Now, the one thing I will say is that it probably could have been a different color that would make it show up a little bit more. I'm okay. I'm okay with the monochromatic look, although I don't know if you would call this monochromatic because clearly it's got a whole bunch of different colors in it, but I'm okay with everything being the same. But again, I do like, just for a different look, that it has this little bit of a cuff, a little bit of a collar, and then a tie. I do like it just for a little bit of a different look, but you could totally do it without it. You can totally do it without it. You don't have to do it. And again, we didn't do the lining with this. We did a facing in the collar, which is what Simplicity 3032 called for. So anyway, I really like it. It's a really nice look. I really like it a lot. And the other thing is we have the front zipper, which again is something that we changed with Nomi 2032. So I hope that you all like it. It did take us a little bit of time to work through adding the collar and the necktie piece and constructing the sleeves, a little bit longer than I thought. But in the end, I feel like it was well worth it. I really like it a lot. And I will definitely be using these sleeves again. So Ankara fabric, again, I got this fabric from Grace's African Zesty Couture fabric. So check that out if you like this Ankara fabric. I like it a lot. So definitely check it out. Thank you. Yes, and it has pockets. Well, the pockets are the Nomi 2016. So the last week it has the pockets too. So it is it is basically the bodice and the top layer of the dress from Know Me 2016. And then again, the sleeves are from Simplicity. And I absolutely love the sleeves. I mean, when I tell you I love them, they are super nice. Especially I didn't know if I would like with the fitted at the top, and I just don't. I'm gonna stand back a little bit more because I feel like you can't really get a feel for one because the fabric is very busy. But in person, when I just looked in the mirror, I was like, oh my goodness, this is everything. It is everything. So again, if you want to make it, bodice and skirt, Know Me 2016, sleeve and the collar and tie come from Simplicity 3032 View C. Um, I love it, and I hope that you all try to make it. At a minimum, definitely try the sleeve, and don't sleep on 20 Know Me 2016 because you can do a lot with it. Dress, peplum top, so much as you could do. Love the pockets, so definitely try it. Anyway, thank you all so much. Thank you, Mo. Thank you again, Marilyn and Lala, and thank you all for hanging in there. I know it's been a long live today, longer than you all anticipated, definitely longer than I anticipated. And with that said, I got a race in the morning, so good night. Have a great evening, and I will see you all next Friday for the next Ankara, the fourth week, 4 to 4. So long. I believe we are doing a dress next week. So stay tuned for more details on next week's So Long.